Planning Commission. Getting ahead of myself. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and if you could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, welcome everyone. Item number A is roll call. Let the record reflect we have 4 planning commissioners present and 1 absent. Patricia Pittipan is not here at this time. Okay, the next order of business is minutes. B1, approval of the minutes of the regular Planning Commission meeting of August 22, 2023. A motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion.
It's moved, Commissioner Bezovich.
Second.
And Commissioner Becker seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, 4 ayes and 1 absent. Moving on to item number C, written communications. Do we have any additional written communications today, sir?
No other communications at this time.
No written communication. Okay. Okay, this is oral communications right now. This is the time that members of the public are invited to address the Planning Commission on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Public comments are generally limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Please note that state law prohibits the Commission from acting on any non-agenda items. So if there's anyone in the audience that's here this evening that wants to speak on something other than the seedling child care, they can come and make a statement to the Commission if you'd like. No one in the audience wanting to make any oral communications? Okay, we'll close oral communications. Moving to public hearings, item number E. E1 is a public hearing to consider U2023-002, a resolution approving a conditional use permit for seedling childcare, a daycare center use at 5880 Thornton Avenue, APN number 92A1007-13-2. The subject site is zoned for PO, professional office, and has a general plan land use designation of office commercial. And the staff report on this item.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, Chairperson and Commissioners. So this project is a conditional use permit request for seedling childcare, a daycare center use to be located at 5880 Thornton Avenue. Before I begin, you'll notice a memorandum has been placed in front of you, which is regarding revised traffic analysis that was submitted by the applicant. The changes to the analysis are minor, and throughout my presentation, I will explain this memo. So for the agenda, I'll be going over the project summary and site information, the site plan, floor plan, parking and loading and unloading, traffic analysis, CEQA exemption, recommendations, and going over any questions you may have. So the applicant is Ahmed Bolgami, and the property owner is Musharraf Hossan. The project site is approximately 34,500 square feet and consists of an existing building, landscape areas, and parking areas. The existing tenants that currently occupy the building are Al Medina Education Center and Church of Christ, both of which are considered community assembly uses. The project site is bounded by Thornton Avenue, Birch Street, Civic Terrace Avenue, and St. Edward Street. Additionally, the project site is surrounded by commercial office businesses, single-family residents, and St. Edward School. The project site has a general plan land use designation of office commercial and is zoned professional office. In the PO zoning district, a daycare center use requires a conditional use. The proposed daycare center would share the existing building with the other tenants. Church of Christ currently occupies a small portion of the building, which is on the top right corner of the building. And Al Medina Education Center would occupy a large portion of the building, which on the plan you'll see it labeled as MEC Mosque. The applicant is proposing to occupy about 969 of the existing building, which is shown in yellow. On-site exterior improvements would include the new playground area, shown in red, a new 6-foot-tall vinyl fencing around the new playground area, and a new 3-foot-tall vinyl picket fence, which is going to be in front of the classroom, in between the parking and drive areas. Interior improvements include demolishing the existing walls for the creation of 2 classrooms, upgrading the flooring and mechanical systems, and adding new bathrooms and doors. In terms of operations, the business would consist of 4 staff members and a maximum capacity of 28 children, ranging from the ages of 2 years to 5 years. The maximum capacity of children is based on the proposed building square footage for the daycare center and the State of California Department of Social Services licensing criteria. The hours of operations would be from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, and the daily schedule would include caring, learning, eating, napping, and playtime indoors and outdoors. The project was reviewed under the applicable provisions of the zoning code. Some standards that the project had to demonstrate compliance with are parking and loading and unloading of the children. But before I get into the parking requirements for the daycare center, I thought it's important to understand the whole parking history for the property. So the property used to be owned and occupied only by the Church of Christ. And in 1971, Church of Christ applied for a variance to allow for a reduction to the minimum required number of on-site parking spaces. The Planning Commission did approve the variance request with the condition that the property provides 54 on-site parking spaces with additional 21 off-street, off-site parking spaces on the adjacent property, which is the Newark Professional Center, highlighted in red. At that time, the property owners completed a joint parking agreement. Fast forward in 2022, the property has transferred ownership, who then, the new property owner brought Al Medina Education Center to operate on the property. Al Medina Education Center did obtain an approval of a business license with the condition that it would continue as an community assembly use, and the parking condition of the 54 on-site parking spaces with the 21 off-site adjacent parking spaces would still be met. To ensure that the parking condition will still be met, an updated joint parking agreement has been completed between the current property. Now back to the parking requirement for the daycare center. What do you see in front of you is a table that breaks down the parking requirement for each tenant. You now know the Church of Christ and the Al Medina Education Center share the same parking requirement of the 54 on-site parking with the 21 additional off-site. For the daycare center, a minimum of 4 on-site parking spaces would be required. With factoring in the proposed improvements, the property would have a total of 56 on-site parking spaces. Out of the 56, 4 of the parking spaces would be provided for the day. As for the loading and unloading of children, the parking spaces closest to the entrance would be utilized, and you can see on the aerial view, the areas where it says ideal parkings are the parking areas for the parents. The applicant has indicated that they would create designated time slots for the drop-off and pickup schedule, and as part of the conditions of approval, a pickup and drop-off plan would need to be submitted for review and approval by the Community Development Director to ensure adequate parking and loading are provided to minimize congestion and conflict points on travel aisles and public streets. Now, the applicant did submit a revised traffic analysis, which is part of the memorandum that was given to you earlier. The updated changes to the traffic analysis include the updated time slots for Al Medina Education Center and the correct number of people and cars for the proposed daycare center drop-off and pickup schedule. Again, these changes were very minor, And the reason for this traffic analysis, it was very helpful for us to understand the operation schedule for each tenant, the expected number of cars that would park on the property, and if there would be any overlap with parking. Staff did notice that there would be some overlap of time slots between the daycare center and Al Medina Education Center. And the overlap times are Monday through Friday from 1:15 p.m. to 1:45, Friday from 1:15 to 2:15 p.m., and Monday through Friday from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. Even though there is an overlap, there would still be available parking left over. From doing the calculations of factoring in the total on-site parking with the proposed improvements, which is 56, plus the 21, the total remaining came out to be 65 parking spaces for the Monday to Thursday time slot. For Friday, that's the very busy day with cars, and the remaining parking spaces is 13. For Monday to Friday time slot, the remaining spaces would be 60. So to summarize parking, there would be adequate on-site parking spaces for the daycare center and the existing tenants. The daycare center project is categorically exempt from CEQA pursuant to Section 15301 for existing facilities that involves minor alterations and insignificant expansions of use, and Section 15061, as it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The project would comply with the applicable provisions of the zoning code in that the project would be compatible with the characteristics of the surrounding, would not unreasonably affect the adjacent properties, their owners and occupants, or the surrounding neighborhood, and would not impact the other existing tenants. The city has not received any written correspondence on this project, and based on the staff analysis, the required findings can be made in the affirmative for the conditional use permit. With that said, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve by resolution conditional use permit U 2023-002 based on the findings provided in the draft resolution. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. The applicant is present for the meeting, and I believe the property owner as well. And they're also here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for your presentation, quite thorough. Are there any questions of staff from the commission? Not at this time. Okay, so we'll open the public hearing at this time, and as traditional, we'll have the applicant come. Could you please come up and state your name and address for the recorder, the applicant?
Ahmed Bilgami.
Great. Have you read the attached resolution? Do you agree with all the conditions therein?
Yes, we do.
Very good, good. Is there anything you want to add to the staff's report?
The presentation was adequate and all the documentation is provided. We did a best effort basis, so I'm pretty satisfied with that.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
That was a good answer. And is there anyone else in the audience who wanted to speak on this item for the Seedling Child Care Daycare Center on Thornton Avenue? Well, you don't have to make any comments, but if you want to come up and make a comment, either favorably or unfavorable, that's what we're here for.
Thank you. My name is Parvez Kashul. I'm a long-time resident in Newark, 30 plus years. Moving frequently in Newark, but most of the time in Newark. So this project is phenomenal. We need it. The support community need all the children, the parents, they will feel comfortable when they go to work. They know where they're giving the children to. This gentleman and lady, they're awesome. They are living in for a long, long time. So I appreciate you are taking this, it's a very nice presentation. It's thorough, no question asked, but really support the project.
Great, well, thank you for your comments there. Anyone else? This is your chance to be on TV, the YouTube channel. Who knows, you could be a social influencer. Oh, yes?
Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you guys. I'm one of the member of MEC and one of the board member. I think this project is going to help a lot for the local people. They want to bring their kids here. And, this MEC is bringing a lot of good things to the community. We have been helping some homeless. We have been helping some of the community members that they have a lot of problems. I'm the owner of one of the security company here. We have been in business in East Bay, mainly Union City, for about 25 years. And we have been sending our security guard at night. We have been securing the property, even the next door, professional shopping center next door, and we are just doing it as a courtesy. So I'm sure that the crime rate also drop in that area because of our presence. And we put also some security signs around, no trespassing or no loitering or anything like that. So I'm sure that is going to bring a lot of good things, this daycare center. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on the seedling child care? If not, I can close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Okay, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. I had a couple of questions just from staff or the applicant. On the surface of the playground that's allocated there, is that going to be a finished surface? Is it going to be grass or dirt or asphalt? Is there something more specific? Because I wasn't able to get that in the report.
So I think that hasn't been fully decided just yet. Whichever materials they decide to put, that's something that we want to understand and review closely when they apply for the building permit. Most importantly, depending on the changes, we want to understand if C3 requirements may be required to comply with. So these details we would ask for during the building permit stage.
And so all the details, yes. Go ahead, you can comment, yes. Come to the, stand up and for the recorder, please, thank you.
Say my name again, Ahmed Bilgami.
Okay.
The point that you brought up in regards to this, during this whole process, I had a phone meeting with the engineering department. And where in the original request, there was a question about the C3 requirement. And based on the pervious or the non-pervious surface that they addressed in there, so we're not adding any pervious surface, no concrete or nothing. So the agreement, again, was from the engineering department that should not be an issue. We will keep the natural surface, but of course improve it, and we're not adding any concrete or hard surface to the area for the playground. Nothing changes.
Good, okay, great. Thank you.
And that should be it.
Good.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff or the applicant?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time, all right. Okay, if there's no other comments, I think perhaps we close the public hearing. We've had a discussion here. Maybe perhaps a motion would be in order.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Becker,
I'll second it.
Commissioner Laurie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4 ayes and 1 absent. Thank you so much. When do you plan on opening? Great.
That's the process.
Yeah. Childcare is, yeah. I have 3 grandkids, and I know how childcare is a kind of a big crisis too. So the more the merrier, I think. So good luck with you on the program. Glad to see that.
Congratulations.
Okay. And this doesn't have to go to council. Are we the final decision?
Planning Commission is the final decision.
We are the final decision again. More and more responsibility. Well, thank you so much. So we don't have to go through more public hearings. You're Good to go. Thanks for coming on down. Okay, nice little piece of business there. And item number G is Commission Matters, Report on City Council Actions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you for coming down.
Can I plug my computer?
Okay. See you at the grand opening.
There's no reports from, on city council actions tonight. However, I believe our deputy community development director wants, maybe we do this under, well, I guess we could do that now. A report on a kind of a development update within the, so I'll
Ooh,
hand it
good,
over to,
good.
Mr.
Find out
Incendiano.
what's going on.
It's not working.
Yes, give me just 1 second. Get my computer going here.
Yeah. That was Joseph County.
It's on the, yeah, it's not working properly here. It's on the share drive, plan commission folder. Thank you, Chairman and Planning Commission. Thanks for being patient with us. So I want to give you a little bit of a development update on some of the projects that have recently come to the Planning Commission and some that have been under review and a new application we have, okay? So this is an image that we put together we thought you'd appreciate, given the fact that many of you who've been here a while and remember the rezonings of this area along Cedar. So from this image, you can see that, with two of the more recent projects that, that's the Robson Homes and the Waymark project, you see how this kind of area is starting to really come together in terms of what the vision is of what those rezonings were. So now you have, when you go down Cedar here, on the left side of the screen, beginning with the Truemark Homes, and then you still have a personal storage buildings. But now you have this Robson Homes project that came to you a couple of months ago. City Council has approved this project. They've begun to pull permits on it, so you'll start seeing some demo work pretty soon here. I think it's gonna be a pretty nice project. And we're fortunate to have Waymark come along around the same time and to be able to consider kind of the streetscape along there and to make it consistent with each other and give it a more residential feel. That's something that we kind of talked about from the beginning with the Robson Homes project, and I think they did a good job of agreeing and complying with us and helping us to work on that And so that carried over to the Waymark project. So I think you'll have a much different feel as you come along Cedar Boulevard. You'll have a much different feel of this roadway here, including the new signal and crosswalk. And then, of course, the D.R. Horton project is already constructed. And, as part of that project, for those of you who are here and remember some of the conditions of approval, they did a good job of the improvements they did along Cedar, with the wall and the landscaping that's there. So what we tried to do when Waymark and Robeson came along was to consider that as you did this transition to a more residential area. So just wanted to share that with you. And so just kind of a recap, and Robeson Homes was approved in May. That was a 118-unit subdivision that has kind of this mix of kind of a Spanish feel to it. And so they will be in construction next year. There's kind of the view. They did a really good job with the open space. Sometimes they try to put all the open space in one area, which works fine in some divisions, depending on where you are. But they did a really good job of kind of the walkways and kind of making sure that each unit had some type of access to open space, and that it was well connected. The Cedar Town Homes by Waymark, smaller project. They went with a similar to the TrueMark project down the street. They went with more of a linear park, and so they put that along the expressway there, the I-880. And so that's the 80-unit project. And that one is expected in 2025. So I just provided some of the elevations that we have from the project. So you see how they're going to be similar in architectural style, a little bit different, but somewhat similar. So it'll blend. And this is a project that you had approved a while back, the Chamber Senior Affordable Housing Project. So more of an update on this one. It's, they got approved for their tax credit financing. So, once that was done, they were ready to go. And so they're getting all their, they already have all their plans in, and they're getting ready to pull permits. In fact, they just got their financing a couple of weeks ago. And so some of the conditions of approval of that financing is that they have to start construction within like 180 days, which is good because originally they told us they were probably going to start construction in 2025. But since they got that financing, they'll start construction probably in early spring. Yeah. Another thing that was kind of not settled, if you remember when that project came through, was they wanted some flexibility in terms of the affordability because they were going to be applying. So that project got approved, and their terms of that approval were that the affordable units had to be at 80% AMI or below. That's what we agreed to as a city, knowing that they were going to intend to try to get lower units. So I thought I'd bring this forward to you when they shared some of the financing details with me. So this is the breakdown. This is how it was approved. So there'll be 20 units that'll be set aside for extremely low-income households. There'll be 20 units will be paired with the Housing Authority of County of Alameda. That's the HACA project, I guess, where they get vouchers for the apartments. And then there's 38 units that will be restricted to people earning 50% of AMI. And then, of course, the manager's unit. And this is the new project. This is the New Park Plaza. I'm sure you're all familiar with New Park Plaza. It's been an outdated plaza for quite a while. And so the proposal, again, this is at the corner of Cedar Boulevard and Valentine, for anybody viewing this presentation. The project is, well, first let me say that the property is zoned commercial. This is what we call a builder's remedy application, meaning that they have, based on the status of the housing element, they're able to apply for a residential project, even though it's zoned commercial. So they are applying for a 1,000-unit residential project. At first glance, it's a lot of units, right? But once you start to look at some of the elevations that they're shown, and I'm not going to share those to you now because I imagine some of those will change as we go along here. But it's going to be, or we're going to tend to make it consistent with the buildings and some of the architectural styles that we request during the, or through the specific plan process. I mean, specific plan, I'm sorry, through the new park plan, specific plan. So it'll be consistent with that project in terms of, I think they're looking at 4 to 5 story buildings. If you remember the Phase A project, it's 6 stories. So it'll be consistent with that in terms of massing and height. But we'll still work through the elevations, and then you'll see more details as it moves along. They also have, we've been having discussions about the importance of some type of retail. So there's going to be retail, at least at the moment, based on recent discussions over here on Ballantyne and Ballantyne Drive, and the corner of Cedar and Ballantyne. Those are kind of the key areas where we would expect some retail would be successful. Of course, with Costco going to be opening up soon, there's going to be a lot of traffic on Ballantyne Drive. And on the Cedar side, the retail is important there because of the amount of traffic that is on Cedar Boulevard and with other associated retail street there. So I wanted to just share that with you. That's just a side plan. Sure.
So you mentioned a by right application.
The builder's remedy application, yes.
Yes, okay. How much input, how much control will the city have, the commission and the council, on the design of this thing?
So in terms of what the city is going to be able to review for, although they are not meeting zoning in terms of the use, the city can still apply objective standards. So parking and other standards similar to that are just very objective, we'll still be able to apply those.
Sorry, go ahead.
How about design? I mean, this thing looks like 3 big parking lots with housing around it. We already have approved over 2,000 units across the street. Historically, this area was going to remain, at least a portion of it, commercial. What has changed that would allow this application to move forward with this?
As part of the builder's remedy application, you can apply a residential project within a commercial office zone district. And so that is, the builder's remedy application is what allows it. I guess one piece that I left out.
Is that a result of state legislation?
Yeah, that's state legislation. We'll give you more information about that as we go along. One of the things I probably left out, and apologize for that, is that the project would have 200 units of affordable, and that is really what
triggers the builder's remedy?
Yeah, the builder's, well, it's something that is required as part of the builder's remedy. But yes, but again, this is kind of just a new application. We thought we'd share it with you. And as we go along, we'll have the ability to view it more carefully.
Would this come before the planning commission, this project, when it's presented to the city?
At the moment, yes.
Okay. There seems to be a trend away from having the planning commission weigh in on some of these things. Is that true?
I'm sorry, say that one more time?
Well, yeah, so this would be come through our normal process, have a planning commission review, and then go to the city council.
Yeah, we're still in the middle of determining that, but at the moment, I believe it'll be coming to the planning commission.
So we'd have a chance to weigh in on some of the design and stuff of our normal proceedings.
Yeah, I'll weigh in on this a little bit as well. I mean, as commissioners may be aware, when it comes to residential development, the state is really removing a local jurisdiction's ability to provide discretionary review on residential projects, particularly those projects that have a substantial affordable housing component. This is an example of that. It's providing 20% affordable units. It's 200 units total out of 1,000. That will bring much needed affordable housing to the community. But as the result of of providing that affordable housing and providing residential projects in general, there's a lot less discretion that local jurisdictions have over these types of projects than we did in the past. In this particular case, why builder's remedy is being invoked, the city does not yet have a certified housing element, and that opens the door for this particular site to be developed in that way. However, the way that state law is going, for projects that do provide affordable housing, there is overall a lot less discretion. As Mr. Interiano mentioned, we, for these projects, can apply objective standards, so that's like height and setbacks and parking, those kind of numerical types of standards that we can apply. With the zoning ordinance update in 2018, we've also adopted some objective design standards that would also apply to this project. Things like, depth of windows and kind of span of massings. Those types of design aspects that can be quantified are ones that we can apply to this project. Also next year, the city will be pursuing a new set of objective design standards that will be able to give us more tools to objectively apply those standards to these types of projects. We don't have those yet, but that's something that we are going to be doing as part of a program within our housing element, and it's certainly on our work plan for development of those too. Jurisdictions are adopting objective design standards as a way to still have control over projects in an objective way, but the state is really kind of removing a city's ability to provide those subjective design standards. Say, we're not going to approve your project unless it's pink, right? So that's a subjective, although that's kind of objective, pink or not, right? But those types of things where you're kind of subjective, providing subjective standards, the state is really taking away the city's ability to utilize those types of standards for housing projects, and particularly affordable housing projects as well. So we're in the midst of reviewing this application. Although the developer and the property owner have certain rights under builder's remedy, we are finding that this particular applicant is working fairly well with staff. And I think that the site planning that you're seeing here is like version 2 or version 3 of a site plan. So they're hearing our concerns and are making adjustments. We're also utilizing the expertise of a retail consultant to make sure that the retail that's being proposed on the site is in the right location. It's visible, it can be seen from the street, and that people would utilize it. So although there is a lot less discretion that the city has over this, we are taking every advantage that we can to get the best kind of possible project. I think although this area was designated in the specific plan as a site for either hotel or commercial or office, we're just not finding those types of uses are really, I guess, popular or in demand here in this particular location. Although this is a project that we do need to consider, we also need to consider that this site has been somewhat neglected for many, many years. And I think because the project is intending to be sort of consistent with the density and massing of the housing that's at the mall, staff is warming up to it, but certainly that 1,000-unit number is eye-popping for sure.
Yeah.
So that's
Lori,
kind of
a
a question.
question?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it here, you're looking at it from a top view.
Right.
And so understanding it correctly, you wouldn't see the parking at all.
That's
Correct?
right. Yeah, kind of like in Phase A at New Park Mall, the trend is to have a central parking core that
You
goes up a
wouldn't
number
see
of
it.
stories,
Right.
and then the residential is wrapped around.
Around it. And so from the street level, you would see mostly the greenery around it.
Yeah, I mean, I think as the landscaping gets installed and it matures, it would tend to soften up the
Right,
edges
and
of
even
the
though it
site.
would be tall, the outside would be nice and you wouldn't be seeing any of the parking.
I
So
think
that would
that's
be
the
nice.
overall intent.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jeff, did you have a question?
2 questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Regarding or better yet, first question, I think is shorter answer. With this project, despite the city's inability or kind of losing the ability to weigh in on what's there, the project and the applicant, they're still subject to CEQA, correct? So they're
Yes.
still gonna have to meet traffic, and if there's any items that don't adhere to CEQA, that is an item effectively discretion or some element that we can review in conjunction with the application?
Yeah, the applications are still have to meet.
So they're still
CEQA.
gonna have to go and it'll have to demonstrate that, how traffic, air quality, all the standard things that projects and applicants have to go through a CEQA process, they'll have to demonstrate to us, to the state, et cetera, that effectively everything can be mitigated. And if it's not, then it will require a statement of overriding considerations on behalf of the planning commission and or city council. Right. I'm just thinking of ways to
sure.
evaluate it from a CEQA standpoint. That is an area still. In terms of the design, Mr. Interiani, you brought up a good point, which raised a question that I didn't know. So with the builder's remedy, we still can apply objective standards because we don't necessarily have that land use control per se. Who dictates what objective standards we apply to the project? Is it the applicant that says, okay, I'm gonna go and move forward with X zoning and you would therefore, city would apply this zoning, and so those are the objective standards I have to adhere to? How does that discretion come into
We
play?
believe that we can actually apply objective standards in zoning, but also the objective standards that came with the specific plan as well. So
Interesting.
because this is in a specific plan area, the well, not so much newly anymore, 2 years ago, City Council adopted the Newport Place specific plan and the standards and requirements in there. So we believe that we are still able to apply those objective standards that are in the plan and then those objective standards that apply to zoning as well. And I think because, as we mentioned, the zoning was updated in 2018, it included a lot more kind of objective type of design standards than we had before. It's not exactly where we want to be on objective design standards, but it's helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the New Park Plaza project? Is there more?
No, that's
That's
it
it?
for now.
Okay.
Just wanted to share that with you as
That's
part
great.
of
Well,
a
that's-
new application that we have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you taking the time to bring us up to date on things like this too, because, I went through my notes and we approved the Costco in 2021. Now it's just opening. So it takes for a long time for these things to come through the process. Even if we want them so badly, we want them to open tomorrow, it still takes forever. But so I'm glad to see that Costco's coming forward and going to be opening soon. Okay, well, thank you very much for that report. Any other comments or questions on the application for the New Park Plaza or any other development things? Okay, if not, then thank you so much for the update.
Thank you.
Okay, so then we can move right on to planning commissioner comments. Any comments from planning commissioners today? Nope, nope.
Could it be on any?
What, on anything, yeah. Promote your childcare or
Well,
whatever.
no, I was wondering, how we could, or if we could go through it. I thought in, the utility boxes that you see in Fremont, how they're painted really nice. And I thought maybe that could be something we in Newark, and the seniors that are artists at the high school, and let their work be shown and show we're supporting them.
Yeah.
Because they're really pretty.
Certainly. Well, through the chair, the city is undertaking a update to the citywide public art master plan. And there's been public outreach events that have been taking place over the past year or so to get public input on the elements of that type of plan. We have completed that initial analysis of the public comments and I think are ready to discuss a sort of a draft concept plan with the city council probably in November.
Okay.
And I think as part of that public art master plan, it will look at a number of different opportunities to put public art within the community. And we know that the utility boxes is one of those kind of low-hanging fruits when it comes to
Right.
improved kind of public access to art on public facilities.
So I thought it'd be nice to involve the high school and their students.
Certainly, and I believe that, I don't know the exact website page, but we have a page on our website about the public art master plan, and
Okay, I
public
didn't
are
know it was-
encouraged to comment on.
Yeah, I didn't know it was for the little things. I thought that was for like big things, like for a, where you can have plays or, having
I think,
stuff like
yeah,
that.
I think
Big
it's looking
stuff.
at the full range of
I
public
didn't know
art
it was for the little
opportunities.
things like that. Okay.
Good. Any other commissioner comments? If not, this meeting is adjourned.